I think team training is probably one of the biggest things. We're hiring so fast and training people that we're hiring kind of mid to higher level people because we have our Philippines team doing the bookkeeping and the reconciliations and that kind of thing. So we're hiring people who already know what they're doing, in theory anyway. But training and getting them to operate all consistently with the Nimbl way, that's I think our next frontier of scaling.
Hello and welcome. We are all the sons of CPAs. Join us as we question the current state of the accounting and tax industry with the new generation of professionals leading this space. We are all the change agents in an industry fraught with money and inertia. Let's begin the Sons of CPAs with your hosts today, Zachary Call and Scott Scarano. And today we have a very special guest, Dave Olsen of Nimbl.
And I am not the son of a CPA. I'm the son of a contractor and a farmer and a rancher.
And this is where I'll put the crowd cheering applause. All right, Dave, go deep. I'm not really a quarterback. Okay, so I guess for the listeners, like right now, give us a little framing of how you're structured.
Yeah, so I'm skipping way ahead. There's more to the story, but today we are 30 people in North America, Canada, and the US, and then 50 people in our office in the Philippines. North America is all remote. In the Philippines, we have one central office.
So you're what part of Utah?
So I'm in South Jordan, just southwest of
Jordan.
Pretty close by.
Okay, cool. And just to be clear, Zachary, what part of Utah are you in?
I'm kind of in South Salt Lake City on the east side, so I'm just east of Dave.
He's representing east side. Yeah. All right. Representing the east side of Utah.
Yeah. You can picture where we're at now.
Yeah. Tell us how you got into accounting.
So I grew up in southern Alberta, Canada, and I knew I was kind of limited in what I knew of the world. So I knew I didn't like construction. I didn't like farming, which is what I grew up spending my summers on. And what I knew of was doctor, teacher, accountant, engineer. I think those are the four professions that I knew were an option. And I love math. I love the physics and chemistry. So that narrowed it down to accounting and engineering. And did some work for an accounting firm locally during high school, worked for an engineer as well, and ended up going to Brigham Young University because they have one of the top accounting programs in the country. And when I got there, I discovered that there's more than just those four professions that I knew about. And I discovered technology, discovered programming, and that really intrigued me. So I switched my major from accounting to information systems, which is in the same school as the accounting program, and worked as a programmer during school. Loved that. Thought that was going to be the direction of my life.
Programmer, it's your link, at least, to why you guys are very tech forward. I just interjected there. So you were in programming.
Yeah. So that's why it's an important part of the history. And this is the early 2000s. But I kind of came full circle because I graduated in 2005, and this was the height of the Sarbanes-Oxley. So the Big Four recruited heavily from BYU. They were recruiting for, of course, audit and tax from the accounting program. And they're also recruiting IT audit from the IS program. And so I went to EY and started in IT audit. And they also had a program for those who don't have an accounting degree to get a master's in accounting during your first year or so of working there. So I did that program.
Were they EY back then, or were they Ernst & Young?
I believe it was actually Ernst & Young. Yeah, that was before that rebranding. But yeah, so I rotated into financial audit. So I did both IT and financial audit, and got enough hours to get my CPA, and got an offer to jump off to become the CFO of a startup company. And that took.
Word. What was the name of the company?
So it's called Aquatherm, and
what they do?
They got the rights to a polypropylene piping system from Germany, and they got the North American rights. So they worked on importing those pipes and setting up the distribution within North America. So I was, if I remember right, employee number 2 maybe, or something like that. But that's part of the story, is because I learned pretty quickly that the CFO of a 3 or 4 or 5 person startup isn't really a full-time job. They definitely needed it, but it took me some time they were growing really fast, and it took me some time to get them cleaned up, to get processes in place. So once I kind of exhausted the CFO role, if I wanted a full-time job, it would be bookkeeper and office manager and sales and just whatever else. So I didn't quite learn my lesson. I went to another startup, and kind of same thing, pattern repeated over again. got them cleaned up and realized, yeah, CFO is not a full-time job. And that's when I finally learned that, hey, if I could, there's these startups out there who really need this expertise, but they don't need a full-time person. And, it sounds obvious in hindsight in this industry, but it was kind of a revelation for me. And
That's so dope. Yeah, the fact that you did that first tends to make sense on why you're pretty successful now, because I think a lot of accountants get stuck in the work because they enjoy it, right? But you're operating almost like a CEO is the way I look at it, but I don't know too many details yet. So keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're good. So I had a friend ask me if he could take some of my time because he was losing his accountant and needed some help. So I went kind of half and half with with both companies. And then another company came along, so it was thirds. And then a venture capital fund came along, and their portfolio companies needed help. So this was probably about a 3-year period. Went from being the single CFO to having a number of clients. But I was still a little bit slow to learn because I didn't really see this as a business for myself. I just thought I had multiple jobs as CFO, needed to get the work done, and just kept adding those part-time jobs as I saw them at the time.
Well, and you just said it again too. It's like you never really saw it as the full-time gig. Are you a multitasker, Dave? Are you a multitasker? Do you want to do more than one thing?
Yeah, exactly. That's doing one company, one thing was boring to me. I love the variety of switching back and forth to these different companies, and they're all different industries too. So,
well, multitasker and entrepreneur tend to be synonyms sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep. So it took me a while though to see myself as an entrepreneur, because in that process, they were small enough that they didn't have bookkeepers, they didn't have any kind of administrative staff. So that was me. I had to get it done. So I first used technology. So I kind of went to my roots and my background in technology and found the best software. Like I mentioned, I implemented Xero in 2010. This was in Canada, so it was available in Canada before the US. And looked for efficient processes, just automating things as much as I could based on the tools available 10, 11 years ago, and just did my best to get the work done. And then at some point I realized that I could hire my own bookkeepers to get some of this work done as well. And the clients didn't really care what was going on with me. They just wanted the work to get done. And this is where the Philippines journey started. I went on a job board in the Philippines and found a couple of contractors to just work part-time to get.
Oh, that's so dope. Yeah. Why Philippines? What drove you there? Was that just where the job boards were responding, or?
I'd heard the concept of offshoring and didn't really know much about it. I skipped ahead a little bit. I actually started with a CPA firm in India and used them for a while. Then I came across the idea of using the Philippines. Grew up with English, they're just incredible culture as far as loyalty and integrity and that kind of thing. And not to say India didn't have that, but it was just something I came across. And
that's true that you point that out, because I'm like back in 2000, 12, 11, around
12,
then.
13, 14.
Yeah. Whenever you thought offshoring or you always thought India, right? That's where the jobs were being taken. I didn't hear from the outside, and I didn't really hear Philippines as much. But ever since I have been, I don't even consider it offshoring. I don't even consider it outsourced. I almost consider them part of our team, right?
Yeah, it's a global team, actually. So and that worked incredibly well. And again, I still wasn't thinking with my business hat. I wasn't thinking as an entrepreneur hat. As let's just get this work done. And I wasn't ready to build an office or commit to full-time people in the North America. It's like, how can I get this work done? The second person I hired in the Philippines, she was incredible. Her name's Cathy. And when I wanted a third person, I really didn't want to go through that whole process again, like sorting through hundreds of applications, trying people out, having them not work out. It was just a big process. And so I asked her if she knew anybody, had any friends, or whatever. And she said, well, I actually have access to office space and I know some people. What if I just hire the next person for you? And I said, oh, sure, that sounds like a good plan to me. So she hired the next person and the next person, and 50 people later, she runs the office, our office in the.
And that is the office that you were growing fairly rapidly with others outside of the US. And you were probably serving as the CFO to clients before you even had employees, the W-2.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll make more sense if I back up a bit and take
let's go back
through that journey. So this was 2012, 13, 14, 15 that I was experimenting with this team. And Cathy came along in 2015. It was just me, basically a solo CFO and a few bookkeepers helping me get the work done. That was until about 2017. And at that point, 2017, I really started thinking in terms of a business and realizing this is a great service. Again, it's funny in hindsight, I I was working heads down. I had no idea what was going on in the industry. I was just figuring things out. I was seeing the cloud technology come along and I was testing and adopting it. I was
Wow.
working with my clients. The clients really up until 2015 were mostly a related group of clients, like a common investors, common people. So I wasn't really a independent clients in that way. But by 2015, I realized, hey, this is actually kind of a cool business. And a lot of businesses out there who don't know that there's something other than just hiring either a full-time expensive CFO or a less expensive bookkeeper that doesn't have the range of skills they need.
But you said that I wasn't really too focused on the industry, but it sounds like you were growing and you were heeding what your clients wanted, and
Yeah.
you were growing your business. So now your eyes might be on the industry, but it's
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
I don't mean to jump. Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. So 2017, that's a good lead into that. The first time I ever kind of opened my eyes to the industry, I went to an Accountex in Boston.
Oh, word. Okay.
And I saw actually Patti from Catching Clouds. I saw a presentation from her. I was like, wow, there's actually people out there doing what I've been doing the last few years. I just had no idea. And so that really opened my eyes to the industry. And it also opened my eyes to, man, there's bigger opportunity here than just serving a few clients. And so I jumped ahead a little bit. 15 to 17, I started adding more and more clients, more independent clients outside of this
Sure.
family of companies. And I just felt this itch I felt like I was ready to scale. Like I got this process, I've got the technology, I've got this team in the background, and it's still just me. I'm the only client contact. I'm doing all the front facing work. So in late 2017, I started looking for ways to get referral partnerships, just to get more lead flow. Still didn't know what that business would look like if I was ready to hire someone. And it was that time I came across a guy I went to school with, and he was in the accounting department at BYU. And he was a partner with one of the largest regional firms in the area. And we got talking, and he realized that what they saw the opportunity of.
And so we hear this year, sorry, you may have already said it too. Let me just get my bearings. You're in the US now, or you're not in Canada anymore?
Oh, yeah. It was 2013. I moved down to the US.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, so I got to talking to this guy, and they, in the CPA firm parlance, it was, CAS, client accounting services. That's what they saw the opportunity, and they were.
Did they call it CAS then?
They did, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I just started hearing that like in the past few years. So.
Yeah. So they're experimenting. They had kind of some pilot programs going and figuring out how to do that within their firm. And as I got to talking to him, he realized that what I'd already built is what they had kind of envisioned building within their firm. We ended up forming a joint venture, and we called it Tanalytics. And
what was it? What was it called?
Tanalytics. So it was like analytics with a T on the front.
Okay.
So,
and what's the T? What's the significance of that? Maybe you were going to get into that, but
yeah. So the firm's called Tanner.
Tanner. Okay.
Yeah.
That's his firm. And so you did a joint. Did you do an amalgamation? What did you call this?
There's a separate entity as a joint venture.
Okay.
Yeah. We wanted to keep that separate from the main firm operations because it kind of different demographic as far as the small business focus as opposed to, or small to medium versus the larger businesses of their
cool.
audit and tax business. So what happened is a lot of those partnerships and ideas didn't pan out for kind of no fault of either of ours. It just wasn't quite what we thought they might be. Tanalytics became what I was already doing. And we also started hiring in this process. That's where the first W2 employees came in, was through Tanalytics. I mean, we grew pretty rapidly, a lot of it because of their name and their relationships. But it ended up being the same, even though it was a bigger team, bigger operation, really what I was, not much different than what I was doing before.
I mean, it's not similar to what Staats did over at his firm, because he started basically a CAS practice from within the firm.
Yeah.
Is that what Tanalytics kind of was?
Pretty much, yeah.
Cool.
I kind of had that entrepreneurial itch, and I was just kind of doing what I was doing before, but this time with a CPA firm partner, we decided to split up. So in about a year and a half after that, it was about a year and a half, mid 2019, is I bought them out and rebranded to Nimbl.
So where did the name Nimbl come from?
So it just came from a branding exercise. We engaged a marketing agency and just went through an exercise of going through all kinds of names, and that Nimbl rose to the top.
And trust must have rose to the top too, because that's in the name of your website, right?
Yeah. So Nimbl rose to the top as a name, but wasn't available as a domain. So we had to figure out, okay, what do we pair that with to...
Is that like your top core value? Is that where you came up with the trust part, or is that just sound?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
Cool. So I really like the branding that you did. I think I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it, but I'm in the process of doing a rebrand with Paget, or working with Paget with the rebrand, and just the approach, and they go really deep, and it's really cool. So I can appreciate a good color and a good brand, and you've got your own color green, and you got your brand, and I dig it. I like all the website too. My opinion on that, I wanted to interject there since you brought up Nimbl.
I appreciate that.
And so Tanalytics turned into Nimbl. That's just, to me, beautiful. Like it's very trendy, and it seems like Tanalytics seems like a 2011 business, and I know it's 2000 teens. Nimbl seems like a 2020 and beyond.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any hindsight in that name, but
not at all. We're happy with it, and yeah, and we like the meaning of it too. It can be nimble with ourselves, but also helping our clients be nimble by not hiring their own large accounting team. They can be nimble with the services we provide. So.
Well, you're nimble today. You hopped on earlier today, and then I had to reschedule our podcast, and you were pretty nimble. And Zachary was nimble too. Maybe we should be recruiting him, another joint venture.
There you go.
Maybe I just want to start with just a comment that, I mean, I've noticed, Dave, that over the course of your experiences, they've all built off of one another, and they've led you to where you're at today with Nimbl and the success that you had. But each thing that you did, whether it was doing Big Four work or working as a CFO or your experiences with Tanalytics, or all of these things have built upon one another, and I think made a really beautiful company that speaks to a lot of small business owners and to what they need in the marketplace. I think that's pretty cool. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd love to say it's part of the master plan of where I'm at today, but I guess it's probably a common thing for a lot of businesses that you take the opportunities as they come, and things evolve, and you never know where you're going to end up. Happy with.
I'll say something cheesy. Like, if you stay true to yourself, that's how you end up building things, because you're always growing as a person, right? So as you get older, you kind of learn from all your previous mistakes. And if you're doing things on your own, you kind of have more say in how they turn out. So, if you're helping build a brand, I think you're building on all of your previous experience. Brand should be a reflection of you, I think. If you're the head of it and use your vision. If it's something you're not, you know what I mean?
So the way this one's going to work is they gave us a script. We're going to read a script, and then we're going to talk about our experiences. Let's go. More than 5,000 accounting and bookkeeping firms across the world of all sizes use Practice Ignition to send powerful online proposals, to get paid automatically, and manage ongoing client engagements in one place.
With access to hundreds of ready-made templates with built-in digital signatures and engagement letters, you'll feel confident knowing you're delivering a clear scope of work.
Plus, by offering your clients easy upfront payment options, you'll be able to free up your cash flow that gets reconciled into your QuickBooks or Xero automatically.
So what'd you use before Practice Ignition?
So we had a PDF that we would put together, and
you were so proud of that PDF too.
I was so proud of the PDF. The PDF actually was just a display of your three options, but it would take forever to put together. And it wasn't just that. We had 2 different payment systems. We had to keep up with AR and Xero. We weren't really using Xero to send all the proposals. Some proposals were in Xero. It was all over the place. What about you?
What a mess. We did everything on Word documents and sent it through EchoSign. And then we had to set up a bill. We were actually using FreshBooks to bill.
So I think for us, we've been on Practice Ignition for about 2 years. And I've referred to it in the past as the heart of our tech stack, more or less, because before somebody's a client, they're in something else. They're in HubSpot. And then after they're a client, it pushes from Practice Ignition to 2 different spokes. It goes to Xero, it goes to Carbon. Because Xero and Carbon don't talk to each other, this is perfect because it keeps things unified.
Yeah, and it just saves you a ton of time and keeps everything standard. And if you need to do a new proposal for a new client, you just think of a client that is similar to, copy it, put in their stuff. It takes 2 minutes, send it out to them. Then you're getting an ACH credit card in 2 minutes. You're getting paid.
There's a ton of customization too. When you want to put together a proposal, you can do those 3 options like I was doing on my PDF. You can do that. You can create templates. You can have variable pricing. You can have fixed pricing. You can have hourly rates. Anything the way that you price, you can do that in Practice Ignition.
Yeah, and I'll just tell you from our perspective, we used to have $400,000 of AR all the time. Now we have $20,000 of AR. It's just
So
cut
do we.
down on our AR. So clients they're pains in the asses. But now Practice Edition solves for most of that. So for a limited time only, Practice Edition is offering 25% off your first year. If you're ready for a single source of truth for your clients, head on over to Practice Edition and use the code to get started for free. I don't know what our code is.
We don't have a code.
We'll just assume it's Sons of CPAs.
Yeah. If the code is Sons of CPAs, type that in there. If not, just mention us, I guess.
Guaranteed 25%.
We can, yeah, the Sons can guarantee that. You'll love how you look. I guarantee it.
I think talking about where you've been and what you've done leads into a next really good question, which is what keeps you staying here? What brings you joy in your work? And
That is good. Yeah.
You know, what do you wake up in the morning to do? What brings you the most joy?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple of things. The growth and the opportunity in the industry really excites me. I just see that as really unlimited about all the businesses out there who don't have the accounting and the finance, all that tax that they could have to make them more successful. So the direct accounting services and anything ancillary to that, there's just so much opportunity. It excites me to look at what's available and go through the personal growth process as well of what that takes to grow out. Like just 3.5 years ago, it was just me. And now it's learning how to lead a team and build the leadership team and all that. It's just so exciting for me to be able to grow personally in that way. And then, of course, the impact on the client, seeing the difference it makes in their businesses and just having services that it had no idea they could have access to for a reasonable price.
And your services range anywhere from as little as a bookkeeper and then up to CFO type work, right?
Yep.
And you do that whole range.
Yeah, exactly. So the evolution was CFO and then added all the bookkeeping, the full accounting department, the payables, payroll, and all that. And then a couple of years ago, we added a full service tax team as well.
We're reverse engineering, kind of like our buddy Kenji, right?
Yeah, it reminded me of our evolution as I listened to his podcast last.
That's cool. Yeah, so we're gonna call out to his episode a little bit accidentally. That wasn't intentional, but just to point out, what brings you most joy. I noticed that you said your team first and then your clients. So that is the right answer, right? Because you got to care about your team if you're coaching them. Like you're the coach. But do you work with clients a lot now too? Still?
So not nearly as much anymore. I have a couple of our larger clients that I work directly with, but spend most of my time working with my team, which is intentional. It's been a fun journey for me to figure out how to make that transition. So.
Yeah. To that question, Zachary, I think if you were to ask me, it used to be clients when I was doing the work, and I would answer it like that, Dave. Who I'm working with is what I care about at that moment. Bringing joy. I'm trying to bring joy to others. It sounds like that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I love working directly with clients, but if I can leverage and scale my own experiences with the clients through my team, that's a lot more scalable and a lot more impact than I can have than just working on them on my own. So,
Zachary, who brings you most joy right now?
Oh, that's a good question. Are we talking about just work? Or are we talking about life?
Everything? I know. I want. Yeah. Well, no, you're a family man.
Family.
Yeah.
I'm a family guy, so my family, of course, brings me.
I think you're more Dilbert than Family Guy, but we can go with Family Guy. Yeah. I'm referencing cartoons. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I don't watch cartoons, but it's all right.
So the family though, that's the other part of the circle, right? Like it's our families, and then it's our teams, and then it's our clients, and then the community and like the culture. So I think that's cool.
So just as a clarifying question, is the offshoring entity part of Nimbl, or is it its own entity?
For a structure, it's its own entity, but exclusive. Like they're basically our office.
Okay.
Exclusive arrangement. Yeah. Yeah, and I was telling Scott offline that about 20 of our Philippine staff work directly on Nimbl clients, and then the other 30 are staffed out to other companies. So we have a separate division, I guess. Separate
so if you want a tagline in here, we can have a little ad slot. If anybody needs to outsource, contact Nimbl. Are they doing that contracting through Nimbl, or do you have another company name that you do that through?
It's Nimbl Staffing. So
Nimbl Staffing, cool. So if there's a website for that, I can put the link in there. That would be cool.
NimblStaffing.com.
I was going to talk more about the rebrand. Were you that involved? I think that's really cool for anybody just to hear about a firm's rebrand, or even like a post-merger. I think you stuck the landing on it It's really good.
It was worth the investment. Like, it was a big jump for me. Again, going from solo,
You want to speak on how much it was when you say worth the investment? Like,
yeah,
how much was it?
It was about 10,000.
10 grand? Okay.
In hindsight, it doesn't seem that bad, but at the time it was like,
Oof.
I hadn't really spent a whole lot of marketing, so that was a big number for me at the time. So.
Did a company design your website, or did you build it using a service platform like a pre-built? So
the same agency that went through the rebrand with us, they also had a separate project to design, not the build, but the design of the website.
Okay.
Well, do you want to share the name of who did it?
I can give them a shout out. It's Reed Hill. They're actually based in Arizona.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think they did great. No, that's cool. How about your app stack? Let's hear a little bit or speak on that.
No, that's great. I had a couple questions around that. So
cool.
All right. So for client facing, we are mostly QBO, a couple of Xero, but mostly QBO. We have Gusto almost primarily for payroll, and Bill.com mostly for payables. The main stack externally. Internally, we use Asana for our workflow. We use Slack for internal communication. We use Front for client communication, both email and text. Those are.
I think like that's a good start though. So you're doing bill pay. You're using Bill.com on there. You're a Gusto partner, and that front office that mentioned it earlier, but it's called Front. It's for your front office. I think that's an interesting point there too. I don't know if you want to talk about that one, Zachary. Do you guys use anything for the front office?
Well, I'm confused, Scott. He uses Front, the email service, don't you?
Yeah.
Not an email.
Wait, so what do you use for the front office?
When he would say,
front? Oh, I thought you were using something for like a front office solution. Like, sorry, my head's on like Lisio or something like that, right? But Front does texting, and you did tell me it's like a help desk.
It's a email client, and it also does texting, I guess.
The way we use it is organized around inboxes. So every client has their own inbox and their own Google Groups alias. And so all of our communication, we don't do any individual email communication with clients. It's all through their alias, and all goes into one inbox. And we have rules set up about who gets notified, who's assigned. And
oh, that's dope. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can comment internally on the emails and assign them to each other and that kind of thing. So.
And that happens within. Is it Google? Sorry, it's a Google thing in Front. Google integrates with Front, I guess.
So Front is the interface, but it integrates with Google, integrates with Office 365. Yeah, any of the email services.
Okay, no, it's interesting to see how you guys interact and how you guys do that. So,
and there's a couple other CPAs who I know who use Front and who enjoy it. I think there's a lot of reasons to use it, especially as you scale. It's just so important to have stuff like that set up as you scale. It's just impossible to manage all the emails that are going to come in, and so you got to train the clients right out of the get-go and teach them how to work with you.
Well, every back office needs a front office, right? And you need that front office communication. And communication, speaking of a world without email. Dave, you said you were reading that book, right?
I do. It's one of the books I'm actively reading right now. So yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about how we operate as a firm, especially as we scale and as we hire so quickly, that there's so much time wasted on communication and task switching and going back and forth. And what I really want to create is a culture and a working environment where people feel like they can focus for periods of time. They don't have to be right on their Slack and answering immediately. They can shut off for an hour or two or whatever, as if they were in a meeting with themselves, and then go back to their messages when they can. So still haven't solved it. I haven't figured it out. So if anybody has any ideas out there about how to apply it to an accounting company, I'm all ears. But I mean, reading that book and thinking of how do we apply that within Nimbl. So
anybody wants to have a fireside chat about world without email, I'm all ears. And I think part of it is changing your clients as well as your team. I think that we can only control ourselves and we can only control our firm.
Yeah.
And everybody having the right habits, right? So
yeah. No, I love what Zach said a minute ago about teaching the clients how to work with us. It's a phrase we actually use almost word for word in our firm, in our company. Wow. Is let's teach clients from the beginning. How does it work to communicate with us and what works and doesn't work? So, and that communication, the expectations about how response times, that's all an important part of that.
Training clients is something in theory I love, and I don't think I practice it as much as preach it. Like, and I don't know if Zach, do you have any tips on how to train clients, like practical ways?
You know what? I think the most practical thing is you got to train them right from the beginning, and you got to be intentional and have a plan about the process that they're going to go through and their onboarding and how you're going to help them learn it. Because if they get used to it from the very beginning of, oh, I'm just going to email my head CPA or the guy who sold me, and that's normal, and then that guy or that gal just forwards it to the person who's supposed to handle it, that's what that client is going to do for the rest of the time that they're with you.
And anytime you complain about that client, anybody out there, you better watch yourself, because your 2 fingers are pointing right back at you and you're pointing the finger at the client. 3 fingers pointing right back at you. Yeah.
Our communication expectations are right in our scope. What are they signing up for? Is it 2-hour response time? Is it 24-hour response time? Is it email? Is it phone? We detail all that out in our scope.
Yeah, cool. Which is great. And then it's also sometimes scary because you're guaranteeing a 2-hour, response time. And when you scale, you have the ability to do that. For me, I'm smaller than you, Dave. I've got 8 people here, so that's a little tougher. It's tougher to.
And I threw out 2-hour, but that's definitely the exception. Most are 24 hours.
Yeah, I think I want to rethink that. I used to put something like constant communication, or like I would sell a higher package where you would get more VIP type services, and I would put a shorter turnaround. Now I'm rethinking that because nobody really needs that fast of a turnaround. They just want to be acknowledged first that you got the email. That's the one thing I'm trying to tackle now, and making sure that people don't always live in their inbox, that they're intentional about responding to people as if they would want to be responded to. It's just like, with anything else, but also not being reactive to emails.
I think one of the hardest parts about this whole conversation, though, is I found that one of my differentiators, one of the things why my clients enjoy working with me so much, is that they can call up and they can get a live person and they will listen to them and they'll try to resolve their problem or question as it arises. And so it's a balance of, okay, we want to provide this great customer experience where they just want to call somebody and get an answer, but we also want to make the communication as efficient as possible so that we're using time wisely and truthfully, so that we can add the most value that we possibly can to our clients. Because if we're having to spend time or money and resources on paying people to answer phones all day, then they can't do the other work of CFO work or advisory work or analytic work. And so it's kind of a tough balance to get that right. I think it's almost like, to me, you need to segment clients' questions into two groups. One is emergency, we need a live person, or complicated, we need a live person, there needs to be a human. And the second is, okay, this is just a routine thing, send it through our process and we will automate it, and it'll be a slower turnaround, but it'll be fine. It's not life or death.
Yeah. That sounds more like the difference between, like, I've used this analogy before, like the Tesla and the Cadillac. The do-it-yourself, the person that just wants to communicate through that bucket of clients, that's just like you said, Zachary. And the Cadillac approach, where it's more the clients that need the more hand-holding, that want to be talked to, that are lonely. A front-facing accountant can do that. They can straddle talking to somebody. I always hear a lot of accountants describe their job as like being a therapist, right? To some degree, you got to be able to have a conversation with somebody and then talk about the numbers too. And there's a lot of great clients in that boat, so to speak. But
yeah, you use Asana, which is one of my favorite tools. We use it in our firm and love it. How long have you been using Asana?
It's been about 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. When it was just me and working with bookkeepers, we used Basecamp for a while.
Yeah, Basecamp. I like Jason. I like that.
Yeah, I love the company and the philosophies, but we kind of outgrew it pretty quickly. We actually used Jetpack for a little while.
Oh yeah.
And it was okay, but it wasn't quite as modern as I would have liked. And then we moved from Jetpack to Asana, and we've been happy with that.
I've heard good things about it from Zachary. Yeah.
None of these solutions are perfect.
Yep.
It's like you have to decide what are the important things to you and does it do it well. And we could try a new one every couple months if you really wanted. There's always new things coming out, but the cost of changing it is so high that it's kind of tough to just try things out all the time.
Yeah, for sure. We're always thinking about, with our tech stack, is it scalable? It works today, but will it work if we double or triple or 10 times? And that's still an open question. And like Zach said, there's all kinds of things out there, but a lot of cost and time goes into trying new things. So
I would rephrase that. I'd rephrase that, because I think that, can it be scalable with you? Like, is it good enough for me now? I got a bit of a different philosophy. Now I've been looking at the leadership of the company and how well their vision is, because software is ever changing, always. If it's a company that you want to grow with and you agree with the philosophy of the leadership, they don't have everything that we need right now, but I like where they're at. I like the direction they're going. I hope they stay relevant and we can still use the product. It's just more of, how does it fit your practice, right? And what's the best solution? What is that noise?
We got people doing some lawn work outside, but that's okay, because we're talking about reach reporting right now.
We're not talking about lawn work then.
No. This is our reach reporting ad. You've never built a report like what Reach can offer, because you've never had such an easy access to all your financial data before.
I feel like I already know how to use this product and I haven't started using it.
You want a product that you can use right away, because if it takes a lot of time to do it, accountants don't have that time.
Well, we also don't want to learn new things. A lot of times we just want something to work right out the box, because we spent our whole lives learning new things. We don't want to learn something new when it comes to reporting. We know what we want the report to look like, and now we just want it to be effortless. I think Reach does that.
You can build any metric that you want. So using Excel, but with live accounting data.
Live accounting data.
God,
that's pretty
accountants
cool.
love that.
They do. They love Excel, joining live data, Excel-like functionality, and gorgeous presentation. It's like Word, Excel, PowerPoint all working together. Reach is the Microsoft suite of reporting. Sweet. I think that's pretty cool. The clients will absolutely love the reports that I will send them.
But it takes some minutes to build and create. So basically, it's not going to take you that much time, and you're going to be able to give them fantastic reports.
So for our firm, at least, the success of our advisory services really relies on a strong relationship, and strong relationships start with communication. You can't just give them data without the visuals, right? They need the visuals. Clients get a deep understanding of their financial situation.
And reporting for clients is tough for a bunch of reasons. It is tough because every client's a little different. So you need a software that can help you standardize some processes and create beautiful reports. And that's what Reach does.
The dashboards and reports that kind of tell a story, but turn your custom reports into templates you can automate. I love the customization to their reports too. You can customize your branding. They basically white label everything.
You like custom Jordans.
I do like custom Jordans.
And you like your custom reporting.
Custom Jordans and custom reporting. I can't fathom what they're going to do next.
So go to reachreporting.com and check them out.
Reach Reporting, complex data made simple.
Cool.
Yeah. So Dave, what do you think the future holds for Dave Olsen and Nimbl?
Yeah, for us, it's just all about growth right now. We've doubled in the last year and tripled in the last 2 years. And what I'm hearing in the industry is common, in that it's hard to find good people to hire. So that's our biggest constraint to growth right now. We have a lot more opportunities in sales that we can handle. But yeah, we're taking advantage of the growth we have right now. Looking further into the future, I don't know exactly what this looks like yet, but it's an important part of my vision to diversify a little bit from just the client service. So that's what Kenji said in his podcast really resonated with me. Like, we're people first. We always wanted people first. We're not trying to take people out of the equation. I think that's how we set ourselves apart from some of the more kind of high volume, lower cost services out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's really important.
Yeah. Are there other components that we can bring in that are more scalable as that part of the business? Is there software and technology that we can bring in that helps us scale? We're looking at those kind of opportunities, but we don't intend to stray from our core business, which is the accounting, tax, finance, that accounting department. So,
did you say if you did any type of forecasting or advisory type work?
Yep. Yeah. So we've basically, we have it under the umbrella of CFO services. So beyond bookkeeping and controller, so forecasting, audit prep, all those kind of things we do. But we're actually working on making that more of a a formalized and scalable service.
That's a hard thing to do. I
It
don't
is.
know too many that do it well. Like Kenji was saying, they've always done that by the hour, and it's, they have it as a service because that's what he did to begin with, the CFO type. Do you use any tools for that? I'm using LivePlan now in the
Yeah,
past.
so we've explored that, and I still haven't found anything better than a good old spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of full financial models, and we have templates that we use, but it's all spreadsheet based and then customized for each client.
I mean, maybe it used to be Excel and now it's a Google Sheet, so you have evolved a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can appreciate
Office
that.
365 or Google?
We use Google Sheets. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I dig it. What drove you to Google Sheets? Was it before Microsoft could get it together?
Yeah, because we were remote, all online, that was the only option, and we
Right,
just
yeah.
kept it from there. And there's really not much that I've found that isn't translatable, isn't doable in Google Sheets.
Google Sheets is impressing me more and more. The more I use it, like the more it can do.
The only problems I've found is if somebody else builds a really complex financial model in Excel, it may not always perfectly translate to Sheets. But if we build it, there's nothing we can't build into it that works for us.
Yeah, AppStack, that tends to be less of a concern for people than it was back in 2017, 2015. Like that was the hot term. What's the hot term now? Change management, or what's the what's the hot term for you guys?
Good question. I don't know if it's not much of a hot term, but just growth, like growth,
scaling. Yeah.
Scale. There we go. There's
well, that's actually, talking about what Zach said earlier, like building upon everything else, like the app stack. It sounds like you've got that. It just seems pretty stable. Now it's how do we apply that to get more out of what we do and to grow more with, with better margins and do different things as a firm to have predictable growth.
Yeah. If I could boil that down as I think about it, I think team training is probably one of the biggest things. We're hiring so fast and training people that we're hiring kind of mid to higher level people because we have our Philippines team doing the bookkeeping and the reconciliations and that kind of thing. So we're hiring people who already know what they're doing, in theory anyway, but training and getting them to operate all consistently with the Nimbl way, that's I think our next frontier of scaling. So
Zachary, do you want to say what you were doing earlier today?
What? When?
Weren't you training one of your team? Somebody on your team? Yeah. Team training.
It's
look at that.
Never ending. I'm with you. I think trying to find consistency in your organization and efficiency so that you can deliver the product that you want to deliver to a client is a tough thing to develop. And then you feel like you get it dialed in and then you lose a key employee or something, and then it's like got to start all over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and hiring is tough. We definitely don't have a 100% track record on good hires, so it's pretty expensive to bring someone on, train them for a while, and have them not work out. So hiring
about it
is the holy grail. Right? We're trying.
Are you still involved? You're still. I would assume you are in the hiring process.
Yeah, so I interview every person still.
Okay.
Not so much in the training once they come on, but definitely the hiring.
So here's something that I heard recently from Kenji. He keeps coming up. I'm trying not to curse too. That's one thing that I'm working on here. Zachary can probably attest to that. My mom listens and she doesn't like that I curse. What was I saying? So Kenji brought up that now that they are not involved in the hiring process, they're getting better people. And I thought that was very interesting. I said, why is that? And he says, well, because we always tried to find a way to make somebody work rather than looking at all the bad signs and overlooking those, which the team, if that's their job and that's what they're focused on, they don't have as much riding on every single hire. And I understand that the job market's difficult. You could waste a lot of money hiring the wrong person. I'm guilty of this. If I have a construct and I see somebody that fits that little paradigm, I'll do anything else to make it work, right? If there's certain key points that I can hang on to and okay, they have their CPA or they have this or they do this, then I ignore the obvious sometimes. So I don't know. Yeah,
it's interesting philosophy because you hear, that perspective. On the flip side, there's stories of usually the tech company founders who hire the first or directly interview the first 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 people because it's so important to them to be involved in the process. So I'm not sure what
well, maybe having a team, maybe not just, and you already have a team. It's not just you, right? You've got multiple people involved in this process. So I think that you guys, if you have a healthy balance, that probably leads to better hires. I don't know.
Yeah, and it works out well to have, we have a head of people running the process. And
What do you call a head of people? Is that what the name is? Head of people?
well, he wears multiple hats, so it's not a clear title, but director of people operations, basically. So,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, they run the process. So really, it's not a big deal for me to spend half hour to an hour kind of as a final rubber stamp on the hire. So,
Okay.
I don't do a ton of hiring, obviously, because we're smaller, but I do have a philosophy, and that is hire with your gut and fire quickly if you have to.
Can you fire with your gut too?
You just know. I think really after a couple weeks, and it's a pain to start over, but I just can attest from personal experience.
Yeah.
Instead of waiting 2 years and living with it, just rip the Band-Aid off and let them go. It's going to be better for them. It's going to be better for you.
Well, I waited 8 years to do that. I don't want to say that out loud. It's hard, man. Like, and sometimes when you talk about that, I talk about that with clients too. And we can never fire a client, really. A lot of people talk about firing clients. Like, do you guys have any experience doing that? I've always priced them out.
yeah, we've had a couple of those lately. Just have a discussion about this not a good fit, and not just leave him hanging, but refer him to, we had a law firm recently that we had never done law firms, and we got a referral from a trusted referral partner, and think, oh, we could probably figure this out, make this work, and a lot of reasons behind it, but just wasn't a good fit for us. So we referred them to a firm that specializes in law firms, and worked out great. So
that's cool. So I guess I'll bring up the last one. Let's talk about the Book of Mormon. I haven't seen the movie either, and I probably should have seen it. You both are part of the Mormon Church, right? So let's talk about the movie. What's the movie about?
Is that the Broadway play? Is that what you're referring to?
I think so. Yeah. Is there a movie too, or just a Broadway play? It was very popular.
Yeah, it must be just Broadway. I haven't seen it myself, so I
haven't seen it.
Don't have much to contribute.
I have not seen it either. Zachary, have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. But if you want to find out more, you can go to churchofjesuschrist.org, and you can find out.
I need to learn more. I'm not religious, and I did want to bring it up. You guys are both in Utah, and that kind of fits the construct.
No, there are lots of people who say that's a great musical, and I think that it is funny and witty, and I've seen little scenes of it, and it does look kind of fun, but it's not like an official musical about the Book of Mormon. It's just called the Book of Mormon.
Well, instead of that, how about just on media? Do you guys watch a lot of TV? Do you waste your time with a lot of TV?
Not a whole lot of TV. I'd much rather read a fiction book than I would watch a TV show.
You're a book guy, and you're talking about riding your bike, and you listen to podcasts, and I love your system. You have playlists for podcasts. I think that's so cool. Anybody listening, if you want to do some playlists for podcasts, do it on
the Downcast app.
Downcast, yeah. I don't think Apple does playlists. That's kind of cool. And I wanted to bring that up too. Zachary, how about you? What kind of media do you consume?
I do. I mean, I subscribe to Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and Netflix, but I don't have cable TV or anything.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm in that boat because I straddle both. It's Disney Plus is always on with the kids. I feel like that's good for the kids. It's TV time, right? I'm trying to balance all this stuff out. I don't know what's right and what's wrong these days, but I don't want them in front of devices. So it's almost like the lesser of all evils with kids is, let's all watch something as a family that isn't directed at selling us something, even though Disney's always directed at selling us everything. I feel like that's a broader, way for all of us to share something versus everybody being alone on their device too. I feel like that's sad when I walk in my daughter's room and all she says is she's just on her phone and stuff. My daughter just started high school. High school.
That's one of the benefits of being in Utah is we got such great outdoors. Both
you guys do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we try to get them away from the devices and get them outside. So.
You need to come skiing, Scott.
Please, can I come skiing? Like I've never actually skied in my life. That sounds so fun. I do want to ski. I just never really had the opportunity.
I used to be a ski instructor, so I'll take you up.
Did you ever teach anybody that's such a pain like me?
I taught little kids, so a lot of them
okay.
were.
I've been called a kid before. I've been called childish. But do you have any other questions, Zachary? I don't. I mean, I don't want to squeeze every bit of the lemon here, but
No, I think it's just inspiring to see what you've built over a short period of time. I mean, it really hasn't been that long. We're talking 10 years in total, ultimately, from when you started some of these things. But Nimbl itself is started in 2017, you said?
2018, yeah.
2018, and you doubled, you tripled the last couple of years.
we didn't even get into COVID. We didn't even bring up COVID once this whole episode. This seems.
It's got to be a
I
record.
don't know. We tend to not talk about COVID much, actually. I think we're all still kind of living through it, that we're not talking about it in the past tense. I'm not sure. I don't know how that should. What's a good closing argument, Zachary? It's a good question.
What's the next accounting conference you're going to go to, Dave, and why?
Good question. So I'm not a real big conference guy, but the one I know I will go to and I won't miss is the accounting salon. So I believe that's going to be. We just had one in July, and we'll have another one in May. So I can say that I'll do everything I can to be there. So
yeah, you're a member there at the accounting salon, right? That's like an exclusive one. I'm not invited to that, so
I haven't been in. Yeah, I haven't been either. Well, I'm kidding, but I understand the exclusivity of it, because I think I don't understand the exclusivity of it. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
But I think that's cool. Scott, what's yours? What's your next accounting conference? And why?
Then a lot of our friends, we got together because there was no conferences last year, so we all got together in Nashville last November. I think I'm gonna go to the thing in Nashville, Digital CPA, and I think this Digital CPA is in November. Yeah, Zachary, what about you? Are you?
I would say if some of our friends are going to that, I may have to put that one on the list.
I'll put this out there. I'll rent a big house, and anybody who wants to stay there, we could do that for the Digital CPA in Nashville, and we'll call it we won't call it the Sons of CPAs. I think we'll call it Cashville. That's what we'll call it. Cashville in Nashville. Yeah. The Cashville kids. Yeah.
But I am looking forward to the next ZeroCon. Dave is a QBO guy. I'm more of a Zero guy. And
I mean, well, if you're not a big traveler, Dave, then how did you get involved in the salon? Was that your excuse to go travel, or what was?
Oh yeah, I mean, I still travel. I just haven't been to a ton of conferences, but probably my old habits of just heads down, not being out in the industry as much as would be beneficial. So I do need to change my ways in there and get out to more conferences. So I'll look to your recommendations for that.
I mean, it sounds like the Accountex, and we can wrap it up there. We'll circle back. Like, that sounds like it changed a bit of your trajectory and opened up a whole new world. So you need to get out to more conferences, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe I can only handle a few of those, that whole change in trajectory. So I got to be careful with that. So.
The paradigm shift and the mindset shift are two things that, when they come together, it will rock your whole world. Yeah. That's a great way to end it. That's beautiful. Thank you, Dave. I think this was great. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to join the Sons today.
Appreciate
Zachary,
it.
Again. Oh yeah, and how can anybody find you? Would they pop you on LinkedIn and find Dave Olsen? What else? Where else?
Yeah, trustnimbl.com, nimblstaffing.com, and LinkedIn is probably the best way. Just search Dave Olsen Nimbl. I'm sure I'll come up. And Nimbl, Nimbl, with no E on the end.
Yeah, that's what I love about the branding too, is that you decided, to go trendy and only do one vowel, and I love that.
Oh, I forgot to ask Dave. You a BYU fan or a University of Utah fan? You went to BYU, but
yeah, definitely BYU, no question there.
Well, that's too bad. But
guess we don't get along now. Right.
He did go to UVA too, right? You went to UVA for your
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, any comment on the Tar Heels? Aren't we both ACC, and you guys won a championship too? But I guess you don't.
Yeah, well, we had an interesting connection. We had our BYU football coach moved over to UVA, so Bronco Mendenhall. So we got some connection there.
Word. Yeah, Virginia's a good school too. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right.
see ya.
Take care.